Humility is the end of suffering. Repenting or forgiving others of being the target of one's own erroneous perceptions is the path to the end of suffering. All suffering leads to humility, and resisting humility is the perpetuating of suffering. So if I condemn others of faults, I retain my own shame and suffering. If I forgive others gratefully for the service of showing me what I have learned to condemn, my resisting and suffering and shame conclude. Perhaps that is related to the teachings of Jesus in John 20:23. I'm going to give it to you in two different translations. Any to whom you give forgiveness will be made free from their sins, and any from whom you keep back forgiveness will still be in their sins. If you remit the sins of any persons, they remain remitted to them. If you bind fast the sins of any, they remain bound. What's bound in earth, what's bound in heaven is bound in earth. A different passage, but it comes to mind as I read that. Is this an implication that what we resent, we perpetuate? And perhaps even keep attracting, whether from the same collaborator or a different collaborator. By collaborator, I mean the target of our resentment, whether it's a person or a group or the weather or whatever. God. Was Jesus teaching people the spiritual laws of neuropsychological metaphysics? Forgive, and you are forgiven. Luke 6:37. Forgive is also translated as release. So release, and you are forgiven. Release others from your resentment, and you are released. This is Matthew 6:14. If you forgive others their offenses, your heavenly Father will forgive you also. So what is the meaning of what is being translated there as Heavenly Father? There's a few other passages. I'm not going to answer, I'm just going to quote a few passages. My Father and I are one. Hear ye, O Israel, the Lord thy God, the Lord is one. My Father abides in me, and I abide in my Father. Many worship only with their lips, yet their hearts are far from me. They do not recognize me, and I do not recognize them. This next verse has become one of my favorites lately. Luke 18:9-14. To some who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everybody else, Jesus told this parable. Two men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood up and prayed about himself. God, I thank you that I am not like other men, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and give 1/10 of all I get. But the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and everyone who humbles himself will be exalted. After suffering comes humility. With humility comes the exaltations of gratitude, peace, and perhaps even that way which may seem so foolish to so many, tolerance. I do not mean passive tolerance like apathetic, numb permissiveness, but like compassion, like goodwill, like generosity, like a bold faith, like loving one another as oneself, recognizing divine purposes operating in all patterns, experiencing the one vine and not just the legion of branches. So if anyone hears my sayings and does not keep them, I do not condemn that one. For I came not to condemn the world, but to redeem the sin of the world, to offer release from spiritual bondage, to set free by sharing the truth. God is blessing you. I invite you to receive the blessing.